to make, and it will last like so long. I think for me, I think I've had about 8 to 9 meals out of it, and you don't really need that much ingredients. You basically only, like, most of it is just like vegetables from your house, ones that are kind of going off. So we've got some carrots here that are really, really small, but they'll be perfect for it. Obviously lentils you'll need. You'll also need an onion and garlic. We've got some tomatoes here, but you can also use tinned tomatoes. And then any herbs. So I've got oregano, pepper and salt, but I actually also like adding in cinnamon if you have that. So the first thing obviously you want to do is you want to chop up the onions. We actually don't have an onion here at the moment.
One.
Oh, no, I do. Okay, so what we'll have to do is basically chop up the onion, and we'll put the heat on. So we can quickly do this. So you want to chop it up quite finely, so that when it's in the ragu it kind of reduces down a little bit and becomes quite sweet. So you can either use a red or a white onion, it doesn't really matter, or even shallots. I use shallots sometimes because they're really, really sweet and they add to it. And so
the idea of this recipe is to really use whatever we have left at home, right?
Yeah. Basically, so you kind of just want to use whatever. Obviously you kind of want to have an onion and garlic, but if you don't have them, then it's absolutely fine. You don't really need them.
You can use other spices like turmeric, for instance, or any other spices to lift up the vegetables.
And I would say it takes about an hour to do the whole thing. I mean, I would obviously want to do it longer.
For the cooking process, for the cooking time?
Yeah, so it's about 20-minute prep, I'd say, 15-minute prep, and then an hour cooking. I sometimes leave it in for like an hour and a half because you can just keep adding water to it, but we'll get to that. So basically what we've done is I've just put the onions in the pan, and after this is done we get some olive oil. I mean, this is a huge one. So you can see that we're a catering company. Pop a little bit of that in there. And then what I'm going to do, if you turn it around, we'll pop it on. Yeah. Just pop it on one of our stoves here that we've got, and we'll let that heat up. And I'd say leave it for about 5 to 10 minutes just so that the onions start loosening up, and you can actually add in the garlic after about 2 to 3 minutes. Once that's done, then I love this. Then we start chopping up anything that we have, any fruits and veg, or not fruits, any veg that we have at home. So at the moment we've got some potatoes, we've got some carrots. Just give them a wash, you can keep the skin on, it really doesn't matter. We've also got some beetroots in here, we've got some aubergines. I also like to use celery. Celery is a really good substitute for quite a lot of stuff, and it also goes off quite quickly, so it's something that you can just bang in, and it will keep in there. So what we'll do is we'll just chop these up. So these have all been washed. Make sure to always wash your fruits and veg, because you don't want to get anything. But as I said, you don't need to peel them. It really doesn't matter as long as they've been washed well, basically. So here we've got these. What we're going to do is bang them in here. Sorry, missed me there. So what we're going to do is we're going to bang them in here. And once this all starts cooking, we can add lots of different herbs. So we've got some oregano in here. We can add that in as well. Lovely. And anything else that you have at home, any kind of other herbs that you have. As I said, I really like adding cinnamon. It really adds that kick. And we basically leave this to set for like 5 minutes. Make sure that those carrots or any other vegetables that you have, whether it's potatoes or aubergine or turnips or anything, sits there for a while and starts to kind of crystallize, starts to get quite nice and sweet. You can kind of smell it. And once that's all done, so obviously we're not going to wait for that all to happen now, but once that's all done, once it's all nice and sweet in there, what we can do is if you have any vegetable stock, you can add that in. So any vegetable stock, you add that in. Oh, sorry, let's go back on that. What we do is actually we add in our tomatoes. Sorry about that. we're adding our tomatoes. If you've got fresh tomatoes, then you can use those. If you've got tinned tomatoes, you can use those. I would normally put about two tinned tomatoes in, because it will last for, as I said, 8 to 10 meals, which is plenty. So you chop these up. So once we've chopped all of these up, we can put them in here and kind of let that reduce down a little bit. Let all of those flavours kind of, kind of mix together. If you want to add more spices in, please do, just bang them all in. And once that has all kind of mixed together, then we add in the stock. So that's when we add in the stock. Don't worry if you don't have any stock at home, because we can just use water. Because there's so many flavours in here already, you can just use water, and you can always add more spices into it.
Or whenever we cook vegetables, let's just keep the water as well.
Yeah.
And use this as a stock.
Yeah, you can, and Sophie's actually going to, after this, do a tutorial on how to make soup. So actually, any of the excess of the water that you've got from that, you can just pop it in here. So we put in loads of water, and then, my favourite thing, the lentils. You can put as much or as little as you want, and you don't even need to use lentils. You could use beans, you could use, beans or lentils basically, or quinoa, or any chickpeas or anything like that. I really like it with lentils. But yeah, you put in as much as you kind of want, and you basically just leave this to simmer. Pop it in with the water and leave it to simmer for about an hour. Keep checking on it, turning it, and make sure it starts to reduce down.
How much water?
I would say, well, depending on how much you're making, I can pop the whole recipe and give it to you for like 2 or 3 people after this, so you can have that. So you also have the amounts. But I would say probably around like 500 millilitres, 200, 300. Just keep adding to it as well, because the longer it sits there, the longer time you have. So you can start it at lunchtime, you just keep adding to it, and it just gets really delicious and starts to really reduce down. And then after that's all done, you basically will have a full pan, which isn't really full right now, but a full pan with vegetable ragu. And once you have that, you can put most of it in the freezer because it's going to last, or put it in the fridge. And then what you can have with it is you can either have rice with it. Some people have rice with it. I sometimes have pasta with it. Sprinkle some cheese on top if you want, or if you're vegan, I mean, it's completely vegan anyway. If you want to add some meat into it, you can as well. But yeah, any bases. I mean, we've got some cauliflower. If you have some cauliflower going off, you can make cauliflower rice. And then vegetable ragu. And that's kind of it. It's basically just using up all of your vegetables that you have that are going to go off. You know, as I said before, look at these tiny little carrots that we have here. I mean, they're minuscule, right? But these can just go in. Don't throw them away. Just pop them in there, and they'll make for a really delicious meal. As I said, after this, what we'll do is I'll send you the recipes so you have exactly the amounts. But you know what, with any of these kind of, this recipe in particular, you can just bang it all in as well. You just really want to make sure you have the tomatoes or any tinned tomatoes. And you want to obviously make sure that you have either the lentil or any kind of substitute for the lentils, and obviously vegetable. But yeah, that's it on my end. I'll send you guys the recipes as well. I hope that was helpful. I think, do we have a question here? Chat. Oh, someone had to leave for a quick call, that's fine. Okay, perfect. So